All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on an exciting new skills chat. Today, we're here to welcome Paul Byrne to the stage, where he'll be showing us how to contribute to WordPress core. Paul is a senior WordPress specialist with 20 years of coding experience and over 10 years in WordPress. He's contributed to 14 different releases of WordPress, starting way back with version 3.9. He's also very active in the community and helps to support lots of plugins. And in 2018, he launched the premium Matador Jobs WordPress plugin for the recruitment sector with his partner, Jeremy. I can't think of anybody better or more experienced to be sharing with us how to contribute to WordPress core. Please join me in welcoming Paul. Paul, would you like to take it away?
Yep, away I go. Okay, so contributing to core sounds like it's really hard, and half of the process is actually about managing the politics and managing the procedures of how to actually get your latest and greatest contribution into WordPress itself. So I'm going to talk about how you find a ticket, how you support, how you find log errors, log bugs, and where you would put the stuff in. I'm going to talk about the infrastructure you're going to need in order to actually do contributions to core, and actually the build environment. And we're going to do that stuff. So let's start with where you need to start. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to talk over the top of my screen as I do all of this stuff. Okay. All right. So the basic thing you need to start with is you need to come in to make WordPress into the handbook. This is the fundamental place where you want to be. This is the bit you want to read. The core contributor handbook, and because we're coding, we're going to be contributing with coding, and this is the thing in here. Read these blocks. They're fairly straightforward. It will give you the right frame and look at them. Now you need to get the code. Yeah. WordPress, when you if I open up yeah, let's do them. So when you download the build, the source code for WordPress, you actually get this folder. This is the folder without the build folder, because now you need to build Word. You didn't used to, but now you do. Where's the chat? I've lost the oh, when I go into more chat, yeah, all right, I've got the chat back up. And this isn't what you would see on your client site or what you get when you download it, because there's a whole load of folders, and the source code is in this folder. This is what we recognize as WordPress, but it gets in a source folder now, and there's now a grunt build process which will build WordPress itself, which then goes into the build folder for the stuff here. So when you download this, you could download it from two places. You can download it from the SVN, and you can download it from the Get repository. So there's now a Get repository, which you can download it, and you can do pull requests against this Get repository. But there are some notes you need to read in the handbook about how to integrate that in with Trac. The Trac is the tracking system for all of the WordPress bugs, and this is the tracking system. This is the Trac stuff, and you need to look at that. Need to put the bits into that as you need to, and this is where you would put a bug in and submit that. If you pull it down from there, that should do it. And the other way of pulling it down is to pull it down from the SVN repository, and that's what I've done because that's what I'm used to. There's an SCN repository, and you can pull the whole of the folder down, and you get the same content from both sources. And then what you do is you make your changes, and then you create a patch, and then that patch is then attached to the ticket in core. So let's go and have a look at, well, we're going to go and look at this ticket. So this is a core ticket, and this is the example I'm going to use today of how to make a really, really simple core. So this is a ticket, it's 3 years old, and I created this one, and it's basically adding the notation of covers to each of the unit tests in the stuff, in order to allow us to do coverage reports on the unit test, so we can find out what's patching. So you do read all the instructions, follow the ticket along, and when you have a patch, when you have a bin, you basically just attach it as a file here. But let's go and make this patch. Let's actually go and do this. So here is editor, and I'm going to go into the tests folder, and I'm going to go into the PHP unit tests, and I'm going to go to tests. Okay, in here are all the PHP unit tests for WordPress, and I'm going to go and pick one of my own functions, because most of these functions in here I wrote. Let me see. Let's pick one. Well, it doesn't matter, pick the top one. Open up this file. Okay, so what we got here, magic quote, yeah. So the fix is at covers, yeah, and we are testing magic quote. It's a core feature, so it's in the root. That's the patch. That is all we got to do to this file to actually get us a ticket. So now I have made the change. I'm now going to build a patch ticket for it. And to do that, I'm just going to come back out to my folder, out to this folder here. I'm using Tortoise SVN because it's easy. Tortoise SVN, click down, create a patch. It got some junk on here which I don't want. Dump, get rid of that, get rid of that. So I've got this one file in here now, and I hit OK. So I'll leave it that name for now, and we have created this patch, yeah. And you grab that file, and let's move that out of the way, go back to the browser, and we will attach a file. And I'm not going to actually attach this file, you just put it in here, give it a name, yeah. I'm not going to do it because I actually want to do the whole of the functions folder in one go, because that's makes a lot more sense to do it. You just upload that file, and that is then a patch. And then what will happen is somebody who has core commit rights will grab that file, apply it to their local build of WordPress, check it works, doesn't break anything, run the unit tests, and run on for that. And talking about running the unit tests, I'm in VVV. So there are two basic approved ways of running core locally. Yeah, one is a Docker build, which they've just brought into core in the last couple of releases. So if you download the folder, come here. If you download this folder, you now see you've got Docker Compose YAML files in here, and you can open this up in a folder, and you can go Docker Compose and run the build, and it will build a Docker container with all of WordPress installed, all the tests, everything all in there. It will do the build, and then you can work on this folder, which is then shared into the Docker container for you to do your work and to do your compiling and stuff. And you can run the unit tests inside of Docker. I'm using VVV, which is the technology I was using prior to this. So this is a VVD container. And I have, let me just exit here. So I have shelled into VVV, and I've gone into this folder, CD, and in this folder, I can just run unit test. So let's be a bit clever here. Oh, would help us in the right place. Let's get rid of that. PHP unit dash filter.
Hey, Paul, would it be possible to make that a little bigger, maybe full screen, or increase the size of that editor window?
How's that? So what was the file we were testing? We're testing this file, this class, yeah. And so basically, you could call. I can't remember if that's a single or a double quote. I think it's probably a double. You can run just a single unit test by using the filter command in the PHP. So PHP, it's running up the unit tests, and if I've got the syntax correct, it will run a single test. Because I've just changed the covers, I just want to make sure I didn't break anything. Yep, one test ran, no hassles. Yeah. So that's how you do that. Let's get that out of the way. So can everyone, did that make sense to people? Can I have some feedback and some notation? Because I just rattled through that. I think I just did that like 30 seconds, and I'm concerned that I sort of just went straight over the top of people's comprehension.
I think so far so good. Everybody seems clear on that, right? Does anybody have any questions?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Okay, so let's have a poke round in Trac a little bit. So you basically create a new ticket just by creating a new ticket, fill it in, send it off. So if you find a bug, so who was it? It was the guy we were talking to at the beginning, didn't Hudson or someone, or I can't remember.
Yeah, that's Hudson.
So he was complaining that, the new drag icons in meta boxes are fighting with some old code of his, and he'd like to be able to disable it for post type. So he'd come in here and create a ticket, issue, bug, and submit that as an issue, and that would come through in here, and you'd fill that in. You can see all of the tickets in here. So this is a good thing to do. So one of the ways of doing is good first bugs. So if you want to get started and you want to do some stuff, the core team have cherry picked some easy bugs for people to fix. And so you can come in here, you go, needs a patch, you could just pick, add a gradient option to the color scheme. So there's the ask, and you would create the patch bug, attach it to here, and away you would go. It's always a good thing to do that. the other one is once you've been in here a bit, you can have a look at your tickets. So these are the things that are sort of still open, that are hanging around for me. So stuff that I've started, touched, done some stuff. And I want to show you this ticket that I would like to, I'd like some help with this. And what this ticket is doing is adding some features to the reading settings. So what I've done is, what I'm trying to do here is allow users and developers to set different post types for the homepage, for the index page. So in this example, I've got books added as an example. So your latest posts can be from books. And if you pick your static page, you can also pick a book. If I reload that, I added a book a second ago. Pick your static page, you actually get a book in here. And then you can select the posts page once you do it, some stuff on here. There is this ticket that is that not that one. Let's find the right ticket. This is some 8 years old that I first looked at this and didn't do anything else with it, but I've just added this last UI, and it's getting some traction. There was a post, an email post, a blog post, someone who wanted it to do some bits on here. And I've done the bottom here, I wrote some words on here, shout out. And so what we want to add to it is, in the new post type, when you register a post type, be able to show it on the home page. And if the post type is a post, it goes in the top list. If it is a page type, it goes into the page list, so that you can do some stuff on here. And then I propose that we add a front page post type to the indexing, to the templating, so that a theme developer could have a different layout for the home page if a post type is set as the home page. Think products. A shop on the home page would be different from a shop on an archive page. And then we follow through to the standard archive post type and then go back to home to do that stuff. And bits and pieces. So I am looking for people to actively help me develop this functionality. So if anybody is interested, join us in the Slack channel, the Codeable Contributor Core Slack channel, and I'd like you to work with me on that. So I promised in here I would do a patch. We'd actually write a patch. So I'm going to pause here. Any questions at this point? Otherwise, I'm going to actually find, we're going to go and find a patch to write. Where's source?
Doesn't look like anybody has any questions, so I think you're good to go, Paul.
Okay, so I've been writing over the last few years patches for the core functions file. I have done, what, 10 or 9 of them, and probably even more, no, more than that now. So let's open up the functions file, this file here. And I've been working through here, just randomly picking out functions. This is somewhere in the middle of the page. Validate a file. What's this do? No, don't want to do that one. That's hard. Forced SSL to return. If null is false, return false. What is that? Guess the URL. If it's false, well, I don't know that function. So let's try and write a unit test for this function. So I'm going to come back up into my tests, go down to my test, I should say. And the first thing I'm going to do is go into test folder, and I'm going to go finding path. All right, it looks like it's already been tested. There's all tests to it. In the URL one, there's already tests. So we're going to, oh, is there tests in it? So we need to, I think it's just using it. It's not testing it. Yeah. So there's not a test in there. So we'll come in here and we'll go new, PHP. Oh, we'll do that. Okay. And because I'm lazy, I'm actually just going to copy this. Yep. Group is from it's going to, we're going to test that. All right. And fairly straightforward. Then the class has to start with the word test. Convention has is we put function in here to tell us where we are, and then the name of the function. We extend the WP unit tests. So we're not running directly against PHP unit test class. WordPress has a test case extension wrapper for that function, and it has a whole load of factory type controls in it. So you can do things like create a post, create a thing, because these are not real unit tests. These are much more integration tests, because in order to run the unit test, it has to load data into WordPress database and actually spin up an instance of WordPress before it can actually load. So it is a bit of a misnomer. So what is old force? Old force. Anyone know what this does? So we pass in a string, forced. I don't know what this does. Help people.
Would anybody like to unmute themselves and give
You're
Paul
on
a
a
hand?
huge monitor, not hard to see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I could go into display mode, but that would be difficult to navigate around.
Are you just asking why they have the old forced variable, Paul?
Yeah, what's this function actually doing? Because I want to write a unit test for it, and as far as I can see is you pass in a something, a boolean or a string, and you get back true or false around there's a static variable here, old false, return old false.
Yeah, I assume you get back the previous value. If you set it to true, but it was previously false, you get back false. What the utility of that, I don't know, and it's not clear from the PHP doc why that is.
Yep, I see. This is sometimes we end up changing the PHP doc to make it clearer. Yeah, this is an absolute classic example of what we're going to do here. So let's have a look and see if we can find some instances of that actually being used.
And Paul, it looks like Marco chimed in. He's shared a link and says, determine whether the administration panel should be viewed over SSL. This function relies on the force SSL admin constant that is set in the wp-config.php file if you're using your site over SSL, and the force parameter will change the return value of this function until it is reset.
Okay. If it's not defined, we've got HTTP where you force it to admin, otherwise false. Force SSL admin, we set it to the value of that. And therefore that gets staticked and stays there. Interesting. Well, I have no idea what this is going to do, so we're going to find out. Data provider. Yep. So the way that the way they like you to write tickets is to use a data provider. Yeah. So and basically a data provider consists of a nested array. Let's get rid of this stuff. We've got too much stuff here. So true, and we expect true back. Let's get off one there. Hit the right key will help. Right, so return an array of arrays, and let's do false there. Yeah, I don't know what this is going to do. So I've got this data array, and I'm going to come up to here, and we are going to pass in the function here. We get two parameters: expected test, and so we've got the test. We assert that these are going to be the same. Expected is true. Magic quotes. So the test value will get stuck in here. Expected is seen some, and basically now we can grab that function, and we can go and back into here, and we will run this test, and we will see what the heck happens. Because sometimes you actually have to like throw values at a test to actually work out what we got a failure. Okay, we got false back on that. Interesting, because the HTTP URL I may have to spend more time on that than I've got here. So that returned false. So is it toggling?
It looks like it toggles with latency. Doing a search of the core, it looks like it's used as a setter once, and then it's used as a getter for the rest of the run.
Okay, so the first time it gets set. So how do you think we test that then? Interesting.
If
One failure. See, false come back as true. Yeah, you see the testing, the results coming back out.
Yeah, so it should always return the last value, but then on the second time you call it as a getter, it should call the new value if you don't feed it anything. It's a really weird function.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm probably not going to continue any further than that, but I hope. Let me go into view. I was going to expand this out into developer, into appearance, presentation mode, so you'll be able to see it a bit better. So this is that's in the wrong place.
Barry Hughes says, you may need to call it once before making your first assertion so you can be sure of the expected return value. I'm not sure what that means. I'm kind of hanging on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And then run it as an empty, just run it as a function. So it's a setter and a getter. If it's null, it comes back. Yep.
That may make it harder to use Slider, but yeah, that'd be the essence of it.
Yeah, so you can do setup and tear down inside the class. So we could create a setup function in here, and in that setup function we would call it once to set the value. But of course the problem is that we actually want it to do. So you set it true, false. So false, it gets set when WordPress comes up, because we're not on HSHP. That is, so that's right, that's right, that's right, and that's now true. It is toggling in it, isn't it? And so if I made that false, yeah, that would now work. So we go false, true, false, true. And if we do null, and if we come in here and we go if I got my head round writing Yoda if statements, and now Core has decided it's beyond the normal developer to handle Yoda if statements, and then we're going to rely on unit tests to handle that situation. Okay, shall we run that? Yeah, update the document. All right, let's run that and see what that does. And this is what you do on a unit test. You just pick a function, make sure it's not been done, and then we will write the unit tests against that function. And then once you've completed it, we will just fire it in as a test. It's failure. Null. It came back as a string. Okay, because I set it as a string here, it came back as a string here. That's weird.
So the documentation needs to be changed so that the parameter you feed it is only a Boolean, right?
Or you need to cast it inside the function. Yeah. how do I get to my other code? Navigate. Window, active tool, editor tabs. Yeah. And this actually is, you know, there's a number of times that I have done functions like this, and it's undocumented, it's sloppy, because this is sloppy. This should be always returning a Boolean, yeah? So the output should be cast, and what we store should be cast, yeah? That all works, yeah?
Paul
I'm not.
Hudson here. Paul Hudson
Yep.
here. Is the goal of, I might have missed it. Is the goal of this to write a test? We're figuring out how to write a test for WordPress. They've requested that a test be written for the specific function. Is that true?
There is a goal to have a test for every single function.
So now in trying to write a test for this function, we figured out that the function itself needs work. Is that also correct?
Yes, I believe that's to be the case.
So how would you adapt with this new information?
So I would write a patch that had both the patch would have both the test function and the I can't find my way around to jump back to the function. View, appearance, exit. I would write a test. Yeah. So this is giving me the impression that this function is incorrect. So I think that this should be cast. Yeah, I think that should be cast, and I would put that in as a patch. It says true and false, yeah, but you can set a string to that value and you will get a string back. You can set it to any value you like. In fact, maybe that shouldn't, maybe what that should be is not even that. We should be doing this. And I'm doing a lazy if there on purpose, yeah, so that I will get the strings. In fact, that should be the other way around. I think this is the patch we should put back to them. All right, so that's the patch. I would be very, very tempted to actually submit that as a change to core. Yeah, I'm probably going to do that. Yeah. So now we've made this change. Yeah. If we run that unit test we had a minute ago, they're going to fail. Yeah, because I've got a string in that unit test. Yeah, and so we had it. So I didn't get a change. What did I do wrong, people?
I'm probably wrong on this, but I think it's what you did right. When you updated the code, it typecasted the data, so that string automatically was set to a true or a false. In fact,
yes, but my test is expecting a false at the end there. I expected that to be the same. Is that assert same. Is that lazy? I wonder if that's a lazy test.
Oh, okay. I see.
So it's equals. I don't know all of the I lose track of all of the functions in there. WP, PHP unit. Yeah, there is an equals one. Let's just put equals in and see if that comes back. Because it's
Looking at the PHP documentation or PHP unit documentation, it looks like assert equals is the lazy comparison and assert same is the strict.
okay. Thank you.
Hi, Paul.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Paul, in the case of null, it's not getting into the if statement. So for the case of null, it should return either false.
Yeah, but why is it returning false as a string?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
So null, it comes into here.
In previous statement, we put it as a false string.
Yes, but I've tried to cast that.
And the thing which you are casting, it is assigning the value to the old one as well, the old force, and returning the old force.
Yeah.
So you are not casting.
So false
The
is
variable that is returning for the function. You're just
casting that, not casting that. So the false is set to false there. False, if it's not null, we come in here and we set it to old that and then return the old value, but we set the new value, which is what's now stored in the static, to whatever this is.
The lazy comparison of the string false to true returns true. That's, I just ran a check in the shell on that. So you're going to get true if you pass it any sort of string, even if that string is false.
Okay. So is there a is Boolean or something? So what do you think we should do here? How do we test? How do we write a test that will support both a true as a string and true as a Boolean? Now, of course, we could do this, but it seems convoluted to me. Yeah, and if you're doing that, you need to trim that. Yeah. That feels messy. Yeah, I don't know what you guys feel like, but that doesn't feel like a particularly clever way of doing things. But that will do some stuff. We can try running against that and see what that does. I'm totally open to suggestions on here, and we may just abandon this and have yeah, that still all works. I'm going to have to step this through and do some debugging on this to work out exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, the function is returning old first, not first.
It's returning old false. Yes.
Yeah.
But I believe I set it here. Yeah. I set it to the string of false here. So if we walk through this, we get false out the first time because when the WordPress instant was run up, it's not got an HTTP on it. So that gets set by the WordPress global. We set it to true, yeah, in that first array. We then call it again, and we pass in, we set it to false, but we get back true because it was set true in the first time. We then pass in false string and get false back out, but we get false string out when we pass null in to do straight call. So we've got 3 setters and 1 reader, yeah? So the first time round, it's set to false because that's what it's set to. Or if false is null, we come in here. So if false is null, we return false. But is that being stored globally, that static? Yeah, I guess so. But that's been set. So if there's nothing in the false, it always returns false. So that's why it comes out as false. But that's a string, whereas that's a hard Boolean. So how do we get that string to be work? When we do the test, exact same, expected it to be false string, and it's not. I don't know. I'm going to stop. Unless anyone else got some real bright ideas, I'm going to go and fiddle with this on my heart's content some other time. But essentially, having got all that patched up like that, what you do is you come in here into the root of the build, what you've downloaded from SVN or from GitHub, yeah, and you then get the patch, create a patch, deselect all, and we basically want to that one, and we changed a functions file, that one, and so we would then create a patch. Let's do that for now. And here's the patch. So there's the change up there, and there's the new file. Yeah. And then we would go and write a ticket on track, add in unit test for file, and attach this file as a ticket. And that will then get picked up by a core developer and do some bits. So while here, question people for everybody. Are people interested in doing the covers, the missing covers tasks? Sort of hands up, everybody who's interested in doing the missing covers. And I'd like to ask you to select a folder if you are interested in doing this. Tests. There are 50 folders and the root. So there's 51 separate groups of stuff. I'm doing functions. I'm doing that one myself. So are people interested in actually getting their name in lights with core and creating a patch for one of these folders, adding the covers notation to that folder?
Would you explain what the covers is again?
Sure. So this ticket talking about, basically we need to add the function name that's being tested. If it's in a class name, you put class colon and then the function name. If it's in the root, it's a global function. You just do colon and then the function name. Yeah. And what we need to do is go into, well, here is the one I've added for the cover for this function I was writing on. And if we go in and open up random test, here's another one. So there's the test. So at covers, we are testing WP allowed protocols. So that's the patch.
Okay, so we're going through all the tests and adding in the at cover markup where appropriate.
Yep, that's it. That's all it is. Just go in and add them up and then submit them as patches.
Is this something we could do together as a group?
Yes. So what I'm suggesting we do is we split the tests folder into folders. Yeah. So I'm going to do the functions folder. I'm going to sit down and just travel through these this afternoon. Yeah. And I'm asking for people to pick a folder. So that's got 2 functions in it. That's got a few more functions in it. Yeah. So these are not huge. And just go through them, look at the functions and say, okay, what's it testing? Oh, add covers. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. That's all there is to it.
Is this something we would want to do outside of this meeting in a separate?
Yes. Yes. You'd go and do it as individuals. You set up your environment, and I'm here to help you if you need issues with, if you have any problems setting up your environment. So either VVV or the Docker environment. And in fact, you don't even need to, this is so simple, you don't even need the environment. You can just download the file, the SVN or the Get repository, make the changes and save them back. Yeah, as a single patch, as a single branch change. So either pick a branch, pick a folder, make all the changes in that folder, and then create a pull request and link that pull request in the ticket, or create a patch and do an SVN patch and attach it to the ticket, and name the patch the name of the folder that you've just done. All patches for functions. Yeah. And just make them all up. Yeah.
I think this is something that I personally would be interested in participating in. It sounds like a fun exercise. It's concerning where we're going to do it at. In the Slack, expert Slack, have we created a special channel for it?
Yes, there is a contrib to core channel, so you can ping that for me to get help. Yeah, but otherwise, just just go in there and say I'm doing the actions folder. Yeah, so that no one else takes it up, and just go and grab it and quickly check on the ticket, make sure nobody else has touched it. Grab the actions folder and and just put them in and send and put the patch in. Yeah,
this is great. Thank you, Paul. And I see where some people are already joining that core contributions channel in Slack. So this is a perfect opportunity to build your authority, get the core contributor tag. This is awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And be honest, guys, I've contributed to the last 13, 14 releases of WordPress. For the release of 5, my contribution consisted of a full stop in a comment in the Gutenberg release, in the Gutenberg track, which probably got removed before it went live, because it was done about 4 or 5 months before the actual Gutenberg dropped. So it, you know, sometimes I don't do a huge amount, and sometimes I do a lot. It depends on what I'm able to do in that time. So it's relatively easy just to browse and to graze through this and to get get your, you know, to get your contrib to core credits and done. Because I will tell you, when somebody says to you, how do I know that you're any good? I say, open up your about page and look for my name in your WordPress install. It doesn't mean a thing, but it stops the argument. They kind of trust you at that point. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more, Paul. This
Exactly.
is fantastic.
Any more questions? Otherwise, we will call this a wrap.
One more over here, Hudson again. On the left-hand side of your screen, you have the functions folder. If you minimize that, how many folders are under that? Because I've counted 21 folders up into the function.
I did a count, and in my tests, all right, so don't 50.
50.
There are 50 folders plus 43 items in the root. So 51 folders. So root will be one folder. Yeah. Treat root as a single folder is what I was thinking.
Well, if Mr. Churchill is still here, maybe him and I can pick out one of the smaller folders and get it done and help kick off things.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just start at the top. Actions, he's got 2 items in it.
Now, one more question. When we submit these, are we all going to be submitting our contributions individually, or is there a way we can submit as a group?
Yes. No, you'll do it as an individual because you need to have your name associated with it in order to get the props. Here is the ticket, and it's in the thing. So you just basically, when you've got your patch, you just upload it. Yeah. Just add the file to here. You need to be logged in with your WordPress.org account in order to do this, but otherwise it's open. And here's a patch that was previously put in. This was just tidying up some existing covers. So basically they went through and they fixed a few. Basically, some of them had brackets on, which is a slightly wrong, incorrect notation. So someone went through and added them, yeah, and fixed up this lot. This is one patch. So some of these have got, so dependencies, test dependencies, looks like it's got some stuff in it. Yeah. So some of these folders have already got stuff in. Yeah. And so we can just.
A way that, since there are attachments here, and I'm not sure that this has been submitted to core yet, is there a way that we can also pull in these patches, or do we just have to be on top of what's on the ticket?
You don't need to pull the patches in because you're going to be working in a separate folder. Yes, you can apply this patch. So actually there are some here that are, you might need to pull this patch in because this is across a number of folders. So what you do is you just download it. Okay. I've downloaded it and I'm going to go into the folder. Showing folder. All right, let's find this file for public. So here I am. Sorry, it's a bit small. Here is the file that I downloaded. I'm just moving it into the root of this folder. Okay. And using your SDV client of choice or get repository, you can use it in get. You can apply patch serial in here, get, or use SVN. So apply patch. Oh, it's stuff on the other screen. So we got all the stuff on it. So here are all of the files which were attached, and so you can look at it. Here's the patch. Yeah. So come here, shift all. Yeah, I've selected them all. Patch all items, done. Okay, now all of those items are now applied to the patch. All that patches are now is now applied. Okay, and that's what you do to do. And then when you're completely happy and you do it, you create your patch, and then every now and again you're going to want to come in here and do an update. Right mouse, SVN update, cancel it. Yeah. And it will pull down all the latest versions from WordPress. And I would do that prior to doing any work, and just reset the patches you've got and add them again as you feel as appropriate.
Very cool. Thank you. Now, one last question. For this exercise, would it benefit us in any way to work on a Git repository together? And then when we're ready to submit our patches individually, we somehow do that? Or it might be too convoluted and messy to do that.
Well, the issue is that we've got to get your name against the patch that you've done.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could use the Git repository. You could create a pull request on it with your patch. Yeah, the instructions are here. Yeah, so if you come in here, here's the instructions. Yeah, patches. Yeah, notes usage. Yeah, and there was a bit more stuff on it. Yeah, code review. So there's instructions. You know, you create your code. You put your branch. Create a branch. Do a pull request against develop. Yeah, example. There's an example of one here, and then in track it will appear as a pull request like this. But you might want to put a ticket, another ticket into it. So you can do that, but I don't think it makes sense to combine them all into a single master pull request, because someone's got to manage that, and someone's then got to get all of the names of all the people that did all the bits and pieces into the ticket so that we all get the credit for it. So it's better to work as an individual.
Very cool. I think I'm out of questions, Paul.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so. Now I just look forward to working with you in the core contribution and picking out the folder that I want to work on. And I'm hoping you're going to hold my hand through the whole process, because
that's what I will do. I will hold hands, and there are other people in that group who have done core contributions, so they'll be able to help as well. So all I want to know now is, which folder is David going to do?
I don't think you'll want me in there.
Oh, you can do this one. I got the CEO of 10up to do a contrib to core, so I'm sure I can get you to do it, and he is not a coder.
All right, well, I might be interested in checking this out. Again, if you're holding hands, then I'm feeling a lot more comfortable.
It's just download the SVN or the Git repository, change some words, and put them back up. It really is that simple.
Very cool. Well, I can copy and paste with the best of them, so.
You show me copy and paste. Yeah.
Very cool.
All right,
well, this
final
has been
questions, everybody?
I don't think so. I asked a few minutes ago if anybody had any questions. I don't think anybody's speaking up.
Well, let's ask the other question. Was this useful? Is there anything else we should do in another session to cover more? Do I need to do an in-depth session about how to set up development environments, the VVV or the Docker session? Maybe that would be, let's do it all together and you follow along one after the other.
Hudson says possibly. Joseph says that would be awesome. So maybe we do need to schedule that, Paul. That'd be really generous, and I think people would get a lot of value from that.
Next question. Which environment do people want to use? Do they want to use Docker? Do they want to use VirtualBox and Vagrant and VVV?
Jay
All of
says
them.
all of them. San says Docker +1. Well, maybe we could take a poll from everybody in the Slack and
Docker already on VVV. And I'll be honest, the Docker stuff, VVV was the stuff that's been around for a long time. I've tried both. Docker is better, yeah. There are arguments for both ways, and Docker is the way that the core team are working. So I've been learning the Docker, and the reason why I used VVV today is because it's the one I know the back of my hand. But the I have the Docker build on my other machine. You know, so less nightmarish. Yeah. Yeah.
Seems like the group is saying Docker.
Okay. Well, that makes, you know, if we can go to one, that's perfect. And we can sit down and we can just, you know, share screens, and we can, you know, I can open a folder up and just download the file and hit build. Isn't that difficult. There's a few bits of setup afterwards, because you've got to run npm install and then run the compose and various things like that. But it's relatively straightforward. But happy to do it. On hard one with Docker is set up mode. You can't run. Jan, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like VVVs, because I can do more bits and pieces and Mailhog and things like that. I do a lot of my development work in VVV because of the Xdebug and Mailhog. I believe you can get Xdebug working in Docker. I don't know if they've got a Mailhog in there yet. And you have you have to have a single instance of Docker for whatever you're doing. So yeah, but you need to configure it yourself. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Interesting comment. Yeah. I'm both ways. You know, the VVV development environment is an interesting space. It's not performant, but it has a lot of nice tools and simple stuff in there. You know, Core is moving towards the Docker space, and they're bundling it all up, and it's got the JavaScript builds, the JavaScript tests and things like that all in there as well, which you can't do in the VVV environment, because all the bits, because you don't have the headless Chrome extensions and things, that they're bundling straight into the Docker build. So yeah, it's difficult. Interesting. The other question, I guess, I suppose, is how many people are interested in working on the more difficult patch, the patch where we are changing Core to add custom post types into the homepage options?
As much as I would love to, I don't think I'll be able to break off the time for it.
Yeah. No, said plus.
Photo has me working hard over here.
Oh, I have one of those as well.
Hey, Paul, what sort of time frame are you looking for on that more difficult batch?
I'd like to keep working at it. I suspect we are too late for this iterate for the next version, but if we get something close in the next 2 or 3 weeks, month, it might go into this release. We're probably going to have to fight the corner a little bit on getting it in, but we need to get a patch close. Basically, there's 3 things in there. There is the admin UI, there is the customizer UI, and there is the routing for the templates and the routing for which page is actually loaded in the home page. So there's like 4 bits. I've done the admin UI 90% of the place. I've got the additions, and I don't have the customizer skills, but I think I've got somebody who might be prepared to help us with that. So it's just the routings and the bits. So 6 hours of effort from somebody to do some bits and pieces, and then, you know, go for that.
Hassan says he'll help.
Cool. But hit me up in the Slack, and basically there's a patch. Pull that patch down once you're up and running. Pull that patch down, and then work it on through, and we can bounce the patches backwards and forwards, and we can put the patches into the contrib into Slack to move them around, or we could go and create a branch, a shared branch up on GitHub, and work on that together. I'm open to suggestions, the best way for people to work together. But that one, we would do a single patch at the end of the day and put our names in as separates to get credits for.
Very cool. Well, this has been wonderful. I want to be respectful of everyone's time again. So thank you so much. Thank you, Paul, for sharing with everybody. This has been amazing. And I love that you're sharing how to do this with everybody. So anybody who's interested can, you know, get their name in that core contributor, get their credits, boost their authority, use that as positioning for landing more clients, having easier time landing clients. This has been wonderful. So thank you, Paul, so much.